Thank you all for joining me. My name is Michael Smith, the National Consumer Education Manager of Janome Canada, and I am back with you for another edition of A to Z with Janome. And today, Janome's Instagram, HQ Instagram Live is brought to you by the letter M, coincidentally maybe for Michael. So M is our Overcast Foot. It's a very wonderful foot that comes with a number of our machines, and although again also available in a separate blister pack from your Janome dealer, but the Overcast Foot allows you to finish the raw edge of any fabric. Basically, there's a knit that I have here, wovens as well. This is a like chiffon, some of those sheer fabrics that really tend to fray a lot. You just look at them and they fray. So the Overcast Foot is good to finish those, but you can even seam with it as well. It mimics exactly what your serger will do, with the exception of it does not trim your fabric. But other than that, it'll still give you that same quick and easy professional result that your serger will. Again, it just won't trim the fabric. But it's a very fun foot to use, and I will show you the M foot if you want to follow me down here to the machine. Again, comes with a number of our machines. The M foot is for 9mm and 7mm machines. And what makes it so special is it's got a little black guide here that you'll line up your fabric with that black guide. And then it's got these 3 prongs. Can you see those? Those 3 prongs, which then help align your stitches. They support your stitches, so your edge of your fabric isn't going to curl up around them. It keeps everything nice and flat and gives it a little bit of slack to the thread to come over across those prongs. Whoops. Comes across those prongs, so then that way again everything stays nice and flat and very professional. So if I can show you this photo here, I hope you'll be able to see that. This is a close-up photo of my serger. It happens to be the AT2000D air thread serger. Oh, I know the glare from the overhead light. Turn it, what, this way? Yeah, is that better? Okay. Oh, okay, not too bad. So specifically these, but any serger will have these. It doesn't have to be the AT2000D. But there are those prongs of the serger. They're little tiny stitch fingers, which again support the stitches as the looper comes over here, and they support the stitches as it finishes the raw edge of the fabric. So these metal prongs of your serger are the same in the M foot, the same little metal prongs to again mimic that same over edge, overcasting ability to finish the raw edge of your fabric. Now we have another foot called the C foot, which is for 7mm and for 5mm machines. Now, instead of the 3 prongs, it has 2 prongs here in the middle, and then it's got a little brush. I think of this as a little shaving brush, like my dad used to use. Remember those shaving brushes? So the C foot is the Overedge foot. But, you know, even Janome interchanges the terms overcast and overedge. In some of the instruction manuals, they call it the Overedge foot, and then another manual, they call it the overcast foot. So they're kind of one and the same. The C foot, again, has the 2 prongs and the little brush. But they work, again, very similarly to finish the raw edge of your fabric, be it along the seam line or can be on the hem edge. This was a sample I did. Remember G, the G foot is the blind hem foot, and I showed how to use that foot on a previous Janome HQ Instagram Live. Now, if you happen to tune in late to the Instagram Lives, these are now being stored on the IGTV. It's the little TV with antenna icon that's on the main page of the Janome HQ Instagram page, for example, or they're also being stored on now the Janome HQ YouTube channel. So in your browser, type in like YouTube, go to YouTube, and then in the search box, you can type in Janome HQ, and that'll take you to our Janome HQ YouTube channel. Please subscribe and select the little notification bell, so that way every time that I post a video, you'll get notification that a new video is there to view. So you can go back and review all the Janome HQ Instagram Lives as YouTube videos. And again, specifically, this was the G foot, the blind hem foot, but then you can finish that raw edge of the blind hem first using your M foot or your C foot, and then you would do your blind hem to finish that off. So you can use them in conjunction together. I just did a Janome Canada Instagram Live last Thursday about using all three of these feet, the M foot, the C foot, and the G foot, as all hemming options. So you can go back to the Janome Canada Instagram IGTV or the Janome Life YouTube channel to review that video. I've also posted it on Janome HQ YouTube, so you can see that there. So very useful feed, and again, these come with a number of the Janome machines, but they're also available in separate blister packs. So what the M foot does specifically as we're going through the alphabet. Now again, more information on how to do this over edge and over casting stitch will be in your instruction manual, so always review that. But so what it does is we'll finish the raw edge, again very similarly to a serger. It just does not trim the fabric, but so down here on these samples, whenever again you're trying a new foot and a new technique, always make lots of samples. So here I've done like my 5/8 of an inch seam, and then I'm finishing the raw edge of that seam allowance there by using one of the over edge stitches built into my machine, whatever machine it happens to be. These come with, again, a lot of our Janome machines. Now here on the back side, I've used a different color of bobbin, and whenever I try a new technique and a new foot, I like using a different color in the needle and the bobbin so I can really help identify which stitch is which. So here on the back side, you see my darker bobbin thread and a little bit of my needle thread using this over edge stitch. It does a stitch down, a row of straight stitching, and then it does like a zigzag off the fabric, and it pulls a little bit to the wrong side and helps again finish off that raw edge. There's also the overcast stitch, and this truly mimics exactly what a serger does. Again, it just doesn't trim your fabric, but it does a row of stitching. Then it does the zigzag, like overcasting of that edge. And perhaps you can see there's a row of stitching, a chain stitch, that's done off the raw edge of the fabric. And by having that row of chain stitching there, that finishes the raw edge off beautifully. It's not going to ravel at all. It looks beautiful on the back side. Again, very similar to what a serger will do, but instead of using loopers, it's using just the needle and bobbin of your regular sewing machine. So it's amazing the great professional results you can have with a foot that more than likely has come with your machine. So down here, there's an option as well that this is sort of like a double over edge stitch. If your fabric is really ravelly, and some of these sheer fabrics, these like chiffons, organza, they just seem to ravel just by looking at them. So it's nice having this extra like secure stitch. It's a double row of like a zigzag stitch to make it more secure. You can also use it for, this would be like great for a pair of jeans. And I mean, look, that looks so much like a serger stitch of what you would find on, you know, professional ready-to-wear, and beautiful that it's not going to, there's not going to be any raveling there at all. Now you can also use some of these over edge and overcast stitches on knits as well. So I've done my usual, again, 5/8 inch seam, and then I have finished the edge, overcasting the edge. Now typically knits aren't going to ravel, but it still looks more professional having the seams finished. The garments also generally wear better. Think of, washing it a lot. They generally wear better if those raw edges are treated, and certainly looks more professional. And that's always the goal when we're sewing at home, is to make it look more professional. And because of that built-in stretch of that overedge seam, I don't have to worry about my seams popping at all. So it's a great, easy finish to do on a variety of fabrics. If you want to follow me over here on the machine, I'm just going to snap in the foot. And then on your machine, again, a number of our Janome machines will be able to do this overedge and overcast stitch. So I'm using the Continental M7 today, but if your machine, again, a variety of machines, will have a stitch that looks like this. It would be like maybe in the utility section of your machine, or if you've got a mechanical machine, you'll turn the dials to find a stitch that looks like this. It's a straight row of stitching, and then there's like zigzags that would go off to the edge of the fabric. Or this one would be great for knits. Again, another row of stitching and then stitches off to an angle there that has that built-in stretch. So that would be great for knits. Or another option you may have on your machine, this is the double extra secure version, where it does a row of straight stitching, then it does a zigzag off to the raw edge of the fabric, but then it does this other little more narrow zigzag right at the raw edge of the fabric to really help control that excess raveling that some fabrics have. So that's a good option there too. Or maybe then this is the actual like overcast stitch, that it does a row of straight stitching, then it does a zigzag off to the raw edge, and then it does another row of like chain stitching right along that raw edge. So this is what really mimics the stitch that you have done on your serger. Again, it just doesn't trim your fabric. But yeah, they're very, very good to use. So a variety of Janome machines will be able to do this overedge or overcast stitch. Now, luckily with my Continental M7, I've got the t-shirt application, which is our sewing applications menu. So when I want to do a overedge or an overcast stitch, for example, I can just hit my t-shirt and then go, oh, what do I want to do? The sewing applications menu is like the machine asking you, what do you want to do? So in this case, when I hit my t-shirt, I've got three options. I can do an overedge for woven fabric, an overedge for stretch or knit fabrics, or overedge heavy, which is then what I would use for my jeans, for example. So I'm going to go just to regular overedge woven, and then once I select that, I've got the three categories of, this is my regular like overedge stitch. This one in the middle is my overcast stitch that mimics the serger, and then this one is again that double extra secure overedge for fabrics that really ravel. So I'm just going to select this overedge stitch here, this overcast stitch. Now when you're finishing the edges of your fabric, you can choose to do them as separate pieces to finish the edge of your fabric separately after you cut it out, and then you would lay them like right sides together and do your seam, whatever your seam happens to be, if you were then going to press the seam allowances open. Or you could do your 5/8 of an inch seam in this example. Then I would just fold back my seam allowance and then run this through to finish the raw edge of that seam, and then I would flip it around and finish off the edge of that seam, and then again press it flat. So great, you could do it that way. Or then, you know, when you look at this sample here, that looks all beautiful, and then even if I tug on this, that's a very secure finish. I can't tell exactly how I seamed this, how I finished the seam in this little sample here. So when I flip it over, I see, oh, well, I used the overedge or the overcast finish to seam my project, my garment, let's say. I used it to seam it together and finished it at the same time. So it really saves a lot of time if you use this overedge, this overcast seam to seam your project together and finish the raw edge at the same time. So that's what I'm going to do with this little sample here. And I've got my overcast stitch selected, so it's going to do a row of straight stitching, so then it can again seam it together securely. Then it's going to do a little zigzag off the raw edge of the fabric, and then it's going to do this chain stitching right along the raw edge of the fabric, so there's going to be no raveling whatsoever. And the secret to achieve all of these fabulous professional results is the foot itself. So again, I'm going to line up my fabric with this black guide, and it's the same on the C foot, that I would line it up right at the edge of the foot there to that guide. And then I hope you'll be able to see, as I drop my foot, because I'm using the sewing applications, then I know my needle is in exactly the correct spot. I've selected the correct stitch. So as my needle goes across this foot with those metal prongs, I know the needle's not going to strike those metal prongs. So if you were going to manually adjust any stitches using this foot, you really got to be conscious of where's the needle going to hit in relation to those metal prongs. So maybe you want to walk your flywheel by hand first to make sure that needle is going to hit in the right spot. But again, because I'm selecting already a stitch that's programmed into my machine, I know the needle is going to swing perfectly. I don't need to worry about the needle hitting those prongs. So maybe I'm going to turn down my stitches as well, so then you can see that first, maybe I'll go a little slower. So first the needle is going to, I'll wait till it comes over here to the left. It's going to start forming this row of stitching to the left, so that's going to help seam it together securely. Then it's going to go across those prongs, which again are keeping my fabric flat, so it's not going to roll up, and it's helping to support those stitches. And then on this third prong that's over to the right is where that chain stitch is forming over and then sliding off, again, just like it does on the serger. Now on the C foot, instead of that prong that's over to the right, there's the little brush there, but it acts the same way, that it's supporting the stitches, helping this chain stitch in this instance of the overcast stitch. It's helping that chain stitch form off the raw edge of the fabric, so there's going to be no raveling of the fabric whatsoever. So it's a really good, easy, professional stitch. Again, I can turn up my machine. The Continental M7 stitches at 1,300 stitches per minute. So I can really get my projects finished quickly. So when I'm going to end my seam, I can just use my thread cutter. Now I want to pull my project away. I want to pull my fabric towards the back of the foot, and then I can pull it off to the left. I don't want to finish my seam and then immediately pull it to the left. And the reason being is I want to make sure that we clear those prongs. The stitches have to, because they're being formed over those prongs, then we need to pull the fabric straight back from those prongs to release it, and then we can pull it off to the left, which is exactly what we do at the serger, that we chain it off to the back and then we can pull it off, so we're not going to damage those little wire prongs there. So again, it's a beautiful finish, very simple and easy, and if I pull my fabric, it looks like it was sewn on a regular domestic machine, regular line of stitching there, but it's all seamed and finished all at the same time. I'm not going to have to worry about any raveling, and it can stand up to a lot of wear and tear. So any questions? No? Is everybody good? Okay. Oh, this is great. Oh, Tiny Alice. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, yes, cat beds absolutely would be great. Again, that very durable. And again, even if you have a serger, you can still use that same kind of technique on your machine. If you're in a very small project and you don't want to take the time to, again, like maybe thread up your serger and, oh, how sweet. Thank you. So yes, thank you all. Thank you all very much for the birthday wishes today. And I will see you all actually tomorrow at Janome Canada Instagram. I'm going to be doing, also at 1 o'clock Eastern, I'm going to be doing the auto pivot feature and the adjusting presser foot height that can be done on a number of machines, but specifically I'll be demoing it on the fabulous Continental M7. So join me tomorrow at Janome Canada at 1 p.m. Eastern, Instagram Live, and then I will see you back here, Janome HQ, on Wednesday for the, what are we, N feet, which are the Pintec feet. So I'll see you then. So thank you all so much for joining me today. Have a fabulous day. Bye.